can collect all 6.
Can't resist a fashionista.
Try out new looks, play with fashion, set the trend, style with passion.
Everybody of every kind who's into fashion, that's a friend of mine.
Hello and welcome back to Beauty Inside a Box. My name is Joey and today we are talking about the Barbie Fashionistas. Now, the Fashionistas are an iconic line of affordable fashion dolls which focus on modern fashion. We're using the term modern fashion lightly here. Let's just say I've never found their style particularly appealing, but, you know, there's normally like 1 or 2 dolls in each wave that I appreciate. Over the years though, the Barbie Fashionista line has become the line which most of the positive change in diversity and inclusion has begun and then spread to the rest of the Barbie brand. Mattel has used the Fashionista line to slowly transform Barbie's image into one of acceptance and inclusion. In today's video, we are going to deep dive into the evolution of the Fashionista line, which started all the way back in 2009 and is still running today. If you love dolls and Barbie as much as I do, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and check me out on Instagram and TikTok, and of course also check out my Patreon. I'll put a link in the description. I recently uploaded a video where I go over my whole collection, so if you want to watch that, is on my Patreon. Barbie has always been interested in clothes and fashion, but in the 90s, as Barbie started to explore more fantasy themes like becoming a fairy or a mermaid, it became necessary for a specific line to be created that focused on everyday fashion. And then in 2004, the Fashion Fever line was released. Fashion Fever was a line of dolls aimed at a slightly older, preteen demographic, which Barbie was starting to lose a lot of attention from after the introduction of the trendy dolls, the Brats. The Fashion Fever line ran all the way up to 2009 when it was replaced with the Barbie Fashionista line. The first line of Barbie Fashionistas was released in October of 2009. The line of dolls was clearly aimed at a slightly older audience than the princess-style dolls that Barbie was making around that time, and was most known for. The line featured 6 female dolls and 1 male doll. They all had names inspired by their individual styles and personalities. Their names were Wild, Cutie, Glam, Sassy, Artsy, Girly, and the male character was called Hottie. But his name was changed to Cutie in later editions of this wave due to the explicit connotations of the name Hottie. In this very first wave, I think my least favourite would have to be Cutie, and my most favourite would have to be Glam. I actually have some of the very first Barbie Fashionistas here, and I love these dolls. I remember buying them when I was, I don't know, like 16. The Fashionista line reinstated an old Barbie face mold that was originally introduced in 1999 after a very badly received introduction of a new face mold for Barbie in 2008. So people really didn't like that face, so they went back to the one from 1999. The Ken doll in the line used the 2005 Ken face mold with rooted hair. I am not a fan of this face mold. I think he looks like a creepy old man. But luckily this face mold didn't stick around for too long. All the dolls were very well articulated, with movement in the head, waist, shoulders, elbows, wrists, hips, and knees. The posability was well advertised in the TV commercials. In spring of 2010, a new wave of Fashionista dolls were released. Now, at the beginning, one of the biggest problems the Fashionista line had was a severe lack of diversity, and this 2010 line, that was very apparent. I think they also lacked in the fashion sense department. I mean, some of these outfits are quite cute, yes, but like, I wouldn't call them fashionable, personally, but that's just my taste. These new dolls were called Sassy, Sporty, there was also Cutie, and the boy character was called Sporty. Sweetie, who was apparently an evolution of the Girly character, but some people had complained about the name Girly, so they changed it to Sweetie. The new wave of dolls had new knee articulation, which had a better range of movement. The girl sporty character is probably my least favourite, and the sweetie one is probably my most favourite. There was also a BFF gift sets made, which included 2 dolls, and shopping spree gift sets, which included 1 doll and loads of accessories. 2011 was a big year for the Barbie Fashionistas, and the line was ready to expand more than ever. In early 2011, a new wave of fashionistas was released, this time with swappable heads. The line was called Fashionistas Swap in Style. The line included 6 female dolls and 2 male dolls. Each had a corresponding extra head you could buy separately, but the boys you actually couldn't buy extra heads. In this wave, I think my favourite is Glam and my least favourite is Cutie. The mechanism used to swap the heads was actually a reused concept from a Mycene line from 2005. They were also sold in sets which came with extra heads. This is kind of weird, isn't it? It's giving like the Headless Horseman, or if you want to act out like the French Revolution or something. Mattel also released sets which came with pets, either a cat or a dog. The Ken dolls in this line got new face molds, thank goodness, and the ugly 2005 Ken face mold was retired for good. Later in 2011, a new wave of swap-in-style dolls were released. Again, the line featured 6 female dolls and 2 male dolls. I actually have 2 of these dolls, but I've never taken their heads off because I find the whole mechanism a bit weird. And I have to say, I think these 2 are, of course, my favourite from this wave. And my least favourite from this line is probably the one called Sporty. I just hate it when they try and make sportswear glamorous. No. A party limo playset was also released around this time. Also in 2011, a line of Barbie Fashionistas swapping styles in the spotlight were released. In Europe, the line was called Barbie Fashionista Swap in Style Hollywood Divas. They had similar names to some of the previous lines, but these dolls wore long red carpet gowns. And I have to say, I think they look pretty hideous. These are like really not it, but it's fine, it's fine. Once again, I think my least favourite is the one called Sporty. In 2011, they also released a line called Barbie Fashionistas Swap in Style Hollywood Divas World Tour. What a ridiculously long name, oh my goodness. These dolls came with suitcases. They also released a line called Barbie Fashionistas Hollywood Divas in Concert. And these dolls came with microphones and they had like light up costumes. It's really giving like Katy Perry, Teenage Dream era. I'm not sure if this is true for anywhere else in the world, but in the UK you could win tickets to see the Saturdays Live if you brought one of these dolls. Does anyone remember that? Did anyone win that contest? I only found out about this while I was researching for this video, but a Barbie Fashionistas series of short webisodes was released around this time with similar animation to the Mycene webisodes, but it was cancelled after 5 episodes. The next wave of Barbie Fashionista dolls were released in early 2012, and finally the swapping heads gimmick was gone. The dolls also no longer had names like Cutie and Sporty and stuff like that, and were now given the classic Barbie name and the names of all her friends. This was probably to more closely associate the Fashionista line with the popular Barbie Life in a Dream House series. There were 2 Barbie dolls, these 2 are probably my favourites. A Teresa doll, a Summer doll, definitely my least favourite. Raquel, Nikki, Ken and Ryan. I have these 2 from this line and I love them. The Ken doll is really, really cute. And even though this outfit is kind of garish, I kind of love it. It's got a bit of a pop art theme going on, which I appreciate. In 2012, another wave of fashionistas were released. This time they came with clutch bags that could be used to unlock extra content on a Fashionistas mobile app. This was right around the time that kids were like falling in love with their iPads. Ryan also got his own face mold in this line before he used to just use Ken's face mold. I have a Raquel from this line and I absolutely love her. She did have a piece of fur sewn to her shoulder, but I cut it off because I thought it looked really, really ugly, and she looks so much better without the random bit of fur. They also released shopping spree sets, which came with extra outfits, as well as sets which came with pets. At the end of 2012, a new line of Barbie Fashionistas was released, and I think this is probably one of my favourites. I sadly don't own any of these, but I think the colours are much more harmonious than they have been. Each doll has like a really clear colour palette, which I like. They still had those clutch bags which could connect to an app, but more importantly, they had nice fashion and good articulation. My favourite in this line is probably Nikki and her cool, like, all-in-one jumpsuit. I think that's awesome. And my least favourite is probably Ryan, just because his outfit is a bit bleh. In 2013, a new wave of fashionistas was released, and this time they had, like, a cool metallic theme. I have these two, and I think they look absolutely awesome. Again, I love the articulation. I think my favourite is Raquel, though. This doll is just beautiful. Also, in 2013, a second wave of Barbie Fashionistas in the Spotlight were released, and this time I much prefer these looks. I think they're so much better than the previous in the Spotlight dolls. Raquel is bringing it again, work! Raquel was always, like, secretly the main character. I love her. Although I don't remember seeing these dolls in the UK, I'm not sure they were released here. Also in 2013, Fashion Fabulous sets were released, which had extra fashions and shoes. I also don't remember seeing these in the UK. Anyway, in 2013, the Fashionista line had its biggest quality downgrade so far. The articulation was almost entirely removed, leaving only the standard 5 points of articulation. The Fashionistas were originally advertised as having 100+ pose possibilities. This was no longer the case with the new dolls. They were stuck in rigid poses, often with like their hips out to one side and stuff like that. Here are some of the 2013 downgrade dolls. As you can see, they're kind of like constantly in these poses, and they have very little articulation. What a shame. The Ryan and Ken dolls also got plastic hair for the first time in this wave. These dolls had been organised into subcategories called Tropical and Glam Party. In 2014, another wave of these new rigid robot fashionistas were released. This time, the subcategories were Style Party and Pajama Party. In 2015, the concept of the Fashionistas completely changed. This is when Barbie and Mattel started to pivot their focus towards inclusion and diversity. More Fashionistas were released than ever before. 23 female dolls and 2 male dolls were released in the 2015 collection, which included 14 different facial sculpts, 8 different skin tones, 18 different eye colours, and 22 different hairstyles. Some of the dolls were even released with flat feet for the first time in the Fashionista line. They now no longer had names, and later on they would be referred to only by numbers, which I think is kind of sad. I would appreciate each character to have like a name and a little bio. I think that would be fun. And I think kids would appreciate that as well. Barbie would now also have the Millie face mold. And I know a lot of Barbie fans don't like the Millie face mold, but I actually like this face mold. It has a sweetness which reminds me of the original Superstar Barbie face mold. I remember finding this one with the shaved head quite exciting and interesting when I first saw her, because Barbie had never really done anything like that. Then, in 2016, the Barbie Fashionista line would surprise everyone and change the way consumers viewed Barbie by introducing an array of new, inclusive body molds that came in different shapes and sizes.
But one thing that never changed, her figure, until today, when toy maker Mattel introduced 3 new Barbie body types.
I think it's about time that they change shape.
Critics had long complained Barbie's body was an impossible ideal. Mattel went back to the drawing board, building on additions made in 2015, which introduced more diverse options.
Society felt that a brand like Barbie needs to be more in touch with the times and needs to be a better reflection of the world that girls are living in today.
The dolls would now be released in either original, petite, tall, or curvy body types. Mattel would use the slogan, "Imagination comes in all shapes and sizes," and the hashtag "The Doll Evolves." And Barbie would even be featured on the cover of Time magazine with the caption, "Now can we stop talking about my body?" And I do think this marketing push really worked for Mattel because the discourse around Barbie's unachievable body type has pretty much stopped since then. The line also had 2 male dolls, as well as 21 female dolls, which consisted of 9 with the original bodies, 4 with the curvy bodies, 4 with the tall bodies, and 4 with the petite bodies. I was incredibly excited to get one of the curvy dolls especially, and I got this one. This was the first one I ever got, and I love her. Since then, I've bought quite a few different curvy fashionistas. In 2016, a wave of fashionistas that also included 2 extra fashions were released, and they have some of the most ugly, boring fashions I think I've ever seen from the fashionista line. I'm not a big fan of these looks, but let me know what you think. In 2017, there were 28 new female fashionistas released. The line continued to evolve, this time focusing on Ken. 15 male dolls were released in 2017, the most male dolls in a single year that had ever been released in the fashionista line. This time they came in 3 different body types. They were original, slim, and broad. But annoyingly, mainstream media outlets decided to focus primarily on the one Ken doll released with a man bun. And I hate this because a man bun is just a bun. Why does it have to be gendered? Everyone was calling it like hipster Barbie and stuff like that. I don't know, it just all felt a bit ridiculous. In 2017, Mattel also retired the body mold where the Barbie was like kind of stood with one hip out to one side. Now all the dolls would be like standing up straight. They also released 4 dolls with 1 extra fashion, and I have to say, these are a massive improvement to the last sets like this. I think these outfits are actually quite cool. In 2018, an albino fashionista was also introduced. In 2019, a Barbie fashionista was introduced with a prosthetic limb, as well as one in a wheelchair. Many articles were written praising the dolls for bringing some much-needed representation to the toy market, although there was some criticism about the wheelchair not being able to fit inside Barbie's dream house. But Mattel quickly fixed this, and the next dream house released had an elevator and doors that could fit the wheelchair. Diversity in toys doesn't just help kids with their self-acceptance, but it also helps the kids around them more easily accept them. Research by Queen Margaret University found that children develop a more positive friendship attitude towards their peers with disabilities after playing with toys that represent them for just 3 minutes. The first Barbie fashionista with braids was also introduced. Mattel also introduced a new Barbie body type with a smaller bust. In 2020, the line also featured the first Barbie with vitiligo. They also introduced a bald Barbie fashionista, as well as a Ken with long rooted hair, and I love this doll. He was the first Ken doll in the fashionista line to have rooted hair since 2012. At the end of 2020, Barbie fashionistas were released with brand new packaging. This time they came with reusable zip-up bags. In 2021, the fashionista line included the very first Ken in a wheelchair. They also released a line of Ken fashionistas with outfits inspired by some of Ken's iconic looks in celebration of his 60th anniversary. Barbie Fashionista included the first Barbie to have a hearing aid, as well as the first Ken to have vitiligo. In April 2023, the first Barbie with Down syndrome was introduced, as well as the first Ken with a prosthetic limb, and a Barbie doll with braces. Towards the end of 2023, Mattel announced a line of fashionistas wearing looks inspired by some of Barbie's classic outfits in celebration of her 65th anniversary. So, even though the quality has declined quite a lot in the Barbie Fashionista line, their commitment to inclusion and diversity has massively improved. Now, thanks to the Barbie Fashionista line, more kids than ever can feel represented by their dolls, and that's more important than anything. Now, if we could just give the fashionistas some slightly nicer clothes, that would be great. Anyway, doll fans, thank you so much for watching my video all about the evolution of the Barbie Fashionista line. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like it and subscribe if you're new here. Also, don't forget to check me out on Instagram and TikTok, and please go and have a look around my Patreon. I'll put a link in the description. Anyway, bye! Thank you to Siren Kelly for being my first top tier patron. Your support means everything.